it is important that you also make your spouse know um, a little bit about your past experiences.
Your sexual history.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they if you don't have any history of that nature, you make that known, then the other party knows where to start from.
Are you happily married, single and searching, or single and not searching? You're in the right space. We're all students of life, and we're here to celebrate and explore the secrets of long-lasting relationships and marriages.
In each episode, we dive deep into topics like communication, family dynamics, parenting, finances, health, and wellness.
Join us on this exciting journey as we create stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships, one episode at a time. Welcome to Life on Stereo. Hello, Lifers. Welcome to today's episode. Today we are in for an interesting episode, so we hope that you're all ready. We hope that you're doing good.
Yeah.
Whatever that you're doing, whatever endeavor or activity that you're involved in this period of life, season, I hope that you're doing well, and we hope and pray for your success. Yes. So what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about expectations or illusions.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is. I really like the contrast in the sort of like opposites.
Yeah.
Expectations are illusions, because hey, the expectations can be real, they can happen, or they can just be illusions.
Illusions, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we just want to dive right in. So really, what are expectations, right? When we talk about expectations, we're in simple terms, we are talking about things that we look forward to, right? Things that we look forward to happening, things that we look forward to seeing in our lives, things that we look forward to becoming, right?
Yeah.
Or even when it comes to the context of relationships and marriage, we are talking about things that we look forward that the other person would do
for us.
For us, or do for the relationship.
For the relationship, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. And we are saying expectations or illusions because sometimes our expectations are just not realistic. They are not realistic. So we're going to go into all of that. For instance, a realistic expectation, or an expectation that came into reality for me before we got married, was that one time before we got married, whilst we were courting, there was an issue I had. Well, not an issue, but a young friend I had that was going through something, and I spoke to you about it, and you were like so eager to help this person, right? So in my mind, consciously or unconsciously, I am creating an expectation that when we get married, I hope that you will be this helpful and this kind to people, right? So that is an expectation that I had formed because of an experience I had with you. So
yes.
And thankfully that was it. So this was a good expectation, and thankfully that's really who you are, right? So we're also going to talk about like how expectations come about, the sources of expectation, and then what happens when expectations are met or when expectations are unmet, especially unrealistic expectations. When they are not met, what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it will be also good to talk about how to communicate expectations, because sometimes we assume that the things we expect from other people, it should be automatic for them to know that we expect that of them. So communicating that is an essential part of, building stronger relationships. And by this, I don't mean just with your spouse or your partner, or but also with people in general, friends, people at work, and so on. If we expect something from them, it's important that we share and
communicate.
and businesses do well with this, where at the beginning of the year you'll be given a set of something called KPIs, so key performance indicators. They tell you in this year 2023, we expect that you mentor one person at least. We expect that you do this and that course. We expect that you do these presentations to new engineers or new employees. They give you clear expectations,
Right.
and at the end of the year it's going to be assessed.
Right.
And because the expectations are clear, for example, if they were to say in 2023 we want you to be a good employee, that's very vague. That's not clear enough. So communicating expectations clearly is really key, and and that builds so that I know what I expect of you, you know what to expect of me, and we live together to have a stronger relationship.
It gives us, like, we know that we are operating on the same level, like we are on the playing field is same frequency. I think that's what I want to say. We know what we are responding to, where we are headed, and I think that you're already jumping into things, so we might as well go with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're talking about communicating expectations, and let me just bring it in the context of relationships.
Right.
In that sense, I realize that some expectations can be explicit, and then some of them are not quite so. Some of them are implicit. Some of them are spoken out. Some of them not really spoken out.
Right.
Do you want to speak to that?
Well, so obviously, so there are certain expectations that are things that are very easy to communicate, and sometimes the others that are also quite. It becomes a little bit tricky. It shouldn't be, but unfortunately it is. And sometimes we feel, if I communicate this expectation, what is he going to think of me? Like if I communicate to my, like I'm a woman and I communicate to my my husband that I need more sexual intimacy.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, okay.
Took the words out of
what is
my sale. Yeah,
what is he going to think of me? Is he going to think that I'm too forward? Is he going to think that I'm just being, too assertive or something like that?
I think not to cut you short, but then in that vein, I think I might be wrong, but then I think maybe a lot of church girls might be faced with that, right? Might not be able to communicate their sexual expectations in marriage when they are married, right? We know that God has created sex for, to build the marriage bond, the physical bond between the man and the woman in a beautiful way. And then because, we grow up in church, and then we hear a lot of messages like, hey, stay away from sex, do this. Now you come into marriage, and then you might not, know so much, so to speak. Well, some people might, but then even if you do, you realize that, okay, this is a unique combination of this man and this woman. And then you're building that side of your marriage, and you realize that, okay, now I'm having expectations, but then how do I communicate it? How do I communicate these sexual expectations? Because like he rightly said, will my husband see me like, this Christian girl, where is she getting these from? These are genuine things to talk about, and these are real things to talk about, right? For instance, on still the matter of sexual expectations, maybe one person had sexual partners before the marriage and the other person, or maybe both, or whatever the case is. So if any of the spouses had sexual partners before, they might tend to project some expectations, unspoken expectations, onto the one that did not. Right? So how do you think married couples can navigate that kind of that aspect that
I think, it's, for me, it boils down to, being honest with each other. And especially in this specific context, it is important that you also make your spouse know a little bit about your past experiences,
your sexual history.
Yes. So they if you don't have any history of that nature, you make that known, then the other party knows where to start from, or knows what to expect and how to build on. Right. So you just have to be honest. Sometimes people tend to shy away from their past and they try to hide a lot of stuff. But that doesn't really help. And moving away from the sexual intimacy thing, it also cuts across every aspect. If we are not honest to open up and tell our spouse or our partner or whoever we are courting, what we've experienced in the past,
right,
and how that can, because sometimes people have baggages. And it's important that we understand, where they are coming from. You cannot, be detached from your history. It is possible that you've moved on from that. You've repented. You've changed and all that. But sometimes, unfortunately, some of these traits still linger on, and then they tend to creep into the new relationship. So it's important that we have that discussion, talk about it, honestly, openly, and then we can, discuss it and take it from there.
I think that you wanted to move away from that, but I'm going to still hint on that a little bit, because I think that it gives a good example for us to talk about, like, expectations in marriage. Because, for instance, you made an example, like, you may have repented from some things. Imagine if one of the parties in the marriage used to have a very wild sexual life, was very sexually active before getting married to this other person. They might have been both, whatever level they are of sexual activity they were involved in before their marriage, their experiences are different. Right. So even if they have, repented from that previous life and have come into a new life, saying that they've been saved and, washed by the blood of Jesus and all that, those experiences are part of their, it becomes part of their subconscious, and it can build some kind of expectation when it comes to sexual relationship between the two of them. And so, do you think that something like that becomes an unrealistic expectation? Do people really tend to project on the other person, even like when it comes to like spoken and unspoken? The person is not saying it, but the person expects it to be this way.
No, exactly. So that's that's very easy to project on the other person. And this can also stem from the fact that if that's other the one in the relationship or the marriage, since we're talking about sex, we put it in the context of marriage. If the one that is not experienced from before doesn't open up and say, I don't have that kind of experience from before, so that we both have that mindset that we are learning from scratch. We are starting from the ABCs. We learn and know each other's bodies, and then take it from there. Then if that is not done from the get-go, it might be a little bit challenging. And for sure, that's an unrealistic expectation, to just expect that the other party would be the way you have experienced it to be. And people are different. we grow in a marriage.
We do, certainly.
It's so many years ahead for you to learn and be experienced, or to know what works for both of you.
Yes, and
So yeah,
I like the word you use. We get to know each other. In the Bible,
and that's how it's used.
the
Yeah.
word is know, to get to know. And I think that really that's what it is. If you have that mind that you are getting to know each other's bodies and what
Yeah.
pleases each other, sexually, that is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now, where do expectations come from? Where do people get expectations from? How do we tend to form or formulate these expectations that we have? Maybe we can start from cultural expectations, where they come from.
Yeah.
From movies, from books.
and movies are, that's a funny one, because while growing up, there used to be these kind of movies called telenovelas.
They still are there.
Okay, so I have stopped watching them for a long time, but those movies sort of tend to portray marriage or love as some kind of all rosy kind of thing, where it should never get
Sa.
yeah, exactly.
No.
So that unfortunately tends to shape the minds of the young ones who fill their minds with those kind of movies.
Yes.
And if not just telenovelas, like these kind of Disney movies where there's like this kind of fairy tale love, where everything is just beautiful and it's just like they lived happily ever after. So these things, so when the moment someone has that mindset and they get into a marriage and things are going some way, then it's disappointment starts to set in, and they feel like, I think my wife or my husband is not doing what is expected of him or her, because they are doing things contrary to what I've seen
in the movies,
in movies and read in books, and all the sweet stuff that I have been exposed to. So yeah, if we are watching movies, if you are matured and you are able to sift through and you're able to think about what you're seeing and sort of take out what's important and learn from, and just watch the rest for the sake of entertainment, then that's fine. But if you're unable to do that, hey, I suggest that you start to consider it quite strongly.
I'm really glad you ended on the note of entertainment. These things are entertainment, right? They are carefully crafted, written, rewritten, edited, and rewritten and crafted and changed as it goes. So everything is pieced together perfectly and intentionally. Okay. And that is not how real life is.
No.
In real life, we can't read each other's mind. So in some of these movies, it's like the man or the woman does everything perfectly like the spouse wants. And then that is the happily ever after bliss of marriage, when we do everything the other person wants at the right time, like bliss, marital bliss. But that's not it. In real life, we do not completely know what the other person is thinking unless the other person says it out loud. And even when the person has said it out loud, we might misconstrue each other, right? And then one thing about movies and books and these romance novels and all that is that they tend to portray the fact that if you're not happy in your marriage, probably the person is not the one for you.
Well, exactly. And that's a big one.
And for me, I feel that happiness, right? I have this saying that happiness is based on happenings.
Yeah.
What happens makes you happy or unhappy, right?
Yeah.
But joy is within. Joy, which comes from the Lord, is unmovable. Things happen, right? Imagine if you lose a loved one. Is that going to make you happy or sad? It's going to make you sad because it's an event, it's a happening, and it is shaping your emotions and your feelings. But we have learned like that love is not emotion, right?
Not at
Love
all, yeah.
is a conscious decision, right? Yeah. And when you move in that trajectory of your decision, when you always choose the person over and over again, your emotions follow. Because as for the emotions, you can't even depend on them. Today they are here, tomorrow they are here.
Exactly.
One second you're happy, the other second you're sad. So are you going to, change spouses or change people just because your emotions are oscillating or changing here and there? So I think that we have to filter the things that we are watching and then make sure you are watching movies just for entertainment. If you're taking something from it, you have to really be intentional about it. Sift it, see what really is real in there. Even like social media, people are getting expectations from social media, and you have to know that everything on social media is presented in its best form.
Exactly. Yeah.
People take pictures on social media. Imagine how, let's take ourselves for instance. Before we sat down to take this podcast, we had to get ready. We had to, put up all this setup and all that. This is a carefully crafted space, right? But real life doesn't flow that way. Things happen. We move naturally. There is a natural ebb to life, right? And so when you see people say couple goals, is a picture you are saying is a goal. So is your goal that are you hand in hand with your spouse or your partner, or your goal is to know how they got to holding hands, right? The behind the scenes. We should be more interested in the behind the scenes than just the picture on screen.
And by all means, I mean, we are not saying you shouldn't be romantic, right?
No.
But the truth is that these things that we see in movies, and they can sort of shape the way we think being romantic is supposed to be portrayed. And you would have a situation where someone has seen wonderful proposals in movies where someone hires a helicopter and they wave something, "Will you marry me?" in the sky. Wow. God. And then someone does some fireworks and then it draws something in the sky and sees all these. And then for you just, you're spending time together with the person at home or something. And then he pops the question. You're like, yo, like, really?
Is that it?
Is this it? I was expecting
more
something special, something unique, and so on. So we tend to forget that things, the thoughts behind things is so important. And we skew our expectations towards the things that we've seen in
just
some of these things.
Just to say that, like, it came to my mind, just funny enough, this, proposal where a man goes on one knee and, we all want that. And of course, when you do something as a nice gesture and being intentional and thinking about the person, trying to go an extra mile for the person, it's beautiful, but it should not be the be all, that this is it. This is the way it has to go. You have to go on one. To be frank, when you proposed to me, it was actually on the phone, right? It was on the phone. And I was like over the moon because that was it, right? Of course, later you did one year, but come to think about it, it's like, sometimes we have to ask why and where is this coming from? Where is this expectation of yours coming from? You need to, investigate, inquire, and find out, why do I want things to be done this way? Or even, why are things done this way? Why are men going down on their knees? And is it the act that is doing anything, or is it the intention and, like you said, the motive of the person? So yeah, I think that romance has been commercialized. Like when it comes to being romantic, everything has to be money sponsored. Everything has to be the way it has been shown on TV or on social media. But really,
that shouldn't be the case. And I guess one other source of expectation will be personal experiences.
Yeah.
And for example, the things that you experienced in your past relationship. So if in your past relationship, well, it could be both ways, right? It could be that in your past relationship, your partner or the person you're in a relationship with was really romantic and always saying nice things, always bringing you flowers, getting you stuff, gifts, and so on. And then in your current relationship, the person also loves you very much, doesn't do as much as the other one. So you tend to use your past relationship as a marking scheme. And sometimes it could also, be on the other side of the aisle. Like the person really didn't care much, not calling you, was not affectionate and so on. So then now your expectations get really lowered. So that's also quite not a really good place to be. So your whole perception about relationship is that, guys, they are not really affectionate. They don't even know how to say I love you. Or ladies, ladies will always be ladies, and people start to then generalize right? things and make statements, blanket statements that's supposed to cover all ladies on earth
because of their 1, 2, 3 experiences.
Exactly. So then that gets a bit interesting, doesn't it?
And so then it comes to positive and unrealistic. I don't want to say negative expectation, but unrealistic expectations or unfair expectations, right? And this example that you gave, it brings my mind to temperaments and personal dispositions and orientation, right? We are oriented differently, right? We grow up in different backgrounds, and we have different experiences that shape the way we do things, right? So maybe you are more, even going into love languages, how you communicate your love, how you show me that you love me might be different from how I show you that I love you.
Or how you expect me to show that I love you.
These are different levels working here. So for instance, how I expect you to love me might be different from how I even show you that I love you, right? So maybe when you do things for me, like, of course, a lot of us know about the 5 languages of love by Gary Chapman in his book. Recently, I heard a man make an interesting statement that he thinks that Gary missed one.
Okay.
Which is the love language of security, which a lot of women have. Right. And
that is true.
It made a huge sense to me. I was like, this is true.
That's really true.
Like I realized that when women feel safe and secure, they feel loved. Right? And so like I was saying, maybe when you acts of services, when you do things for me, things that maybe need that I'm going to go to school, or I'm doing an educational program, so you get me a laptop. Whoa, I'm like, wow, I feel loved, right? But then with me reciprocating to you, it might not be that I am also doing acts of service to you to express my love to you. But maybe you also feel loved when I do. So all this is what? Communication, and not to project unfair expectation on each other, but to communicate. So now going into that, I want us to go into how to deal with unmet expectations. How do we deal with that? And I think that one major way of dealing with that is compromise. It's compromise. When you have an expectation, when you bring an expectation into a relationship and you have communicated it to your partner, but you realize that your partner is not forthcoming or is not able to, meet that expectation wholly, you can compromise. Right.
That's
so do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's when you have things that you expect from your partner or your spouse. And as I said, it's really amazing if those expectations are met. And, sometimes we need to leave room, so because in like when you are doing, let's say, experiments or, doing a study, research, you leave some kind of room, margin of error, so to say, where if I expect that you do something for me at level 10 and you make an effort, I always say that someone does something, I say I give you A for effort.
Definitely.
So if I expect like chef level cooking from my wife or my husband, and then I get a good meal from them, we need to be able to appreciate the little efforts that people put into things. So when you have that kind of mindset or that kind of disposition where the moment someone puts in a little effort into doing something, you appreciate it and you are able to go with it, and you feel loved or you feel fulfilled even from that little effort. That goes a long way, because we need to sort of build the character of being appreciative of the little things that our partners do. And if we don't do this, humans as we are, we can't be 100% all the time. I can't be like perfect. You can't be perfect. But at least if you have that desire to do things to make me happy, and I have an equal desire to do things to make you happy, then we can give each other, A for effort, not E, but A for effort, and
effort.
Exactly. And then that's how you manage those unmet expectations. So they may be unmet, but you can see them as attempted anyway. The person tried, and give them time. Maybe then they may be able to, with time and communication and constant, constantly talking about these things, it's possible that your unmet expectations may be changed and maybe met going forward.
Really. I really subscribe to patience. Like sometimes we are too quick to throw people away because we feel they can't meet our expectations. But for all you know, if only you wait a little bit, if only you will be patient with them, you'll be amazed with the person they can grow into. How many of us grew up with people, this is going to be funny, but we grew up with people, you probably went out with somebody or somebody that you had a crush on when you were very young, and you're like, this person is the perfect person for me. This person is like 100% and perfect. And then you grow up and like, I am so glad I did not get involved with this person, or I'm so glad I didn't end up with this person, because you realize that we are on two different frequencies. Like, no. So you see what time can reveal and what time can do and what time can build. If you really like invest in each other, and we are emphasizing on communicating your expectation. They might be unrealistic, but when you communicate them, you see how each other can, come to a place where you fulfill each other's expectation. And I should say, I'll bring this in. Before I got married, I'm glad that I used to hear women, especially women of God, a few women of God I used to listen to, and they will make this point that you cannot find complete fulfillment in your husband.
Yeah.
That is not their job and their destiny. Complete fulfillment and satisfaction comes from the Lord. Like no matter what your spouse does for you or is for you, you will still need that space. There is a space in your heart and there is a longing in your heart that only God can fill. There is a thirst in your heart that only God can satisfy and satiate. So it will be unfair to really expect that kind of, this person is my all in all, like everything I need is in this person. Then that person will become God to you.
Exactly.
But that's not who we are to each other. We are each other's, life partners. We are doing life together. But we are not each other's life givers. We don't give each other breath, But so purpose and fulfillment really comes from the Lord. And I think that this is very important because one thing I also learned from them is that, of course, I'm going in that, is that when you tend to take unrealistic expectations off your spouse or your partner, you give them room to be themselves. As we wrap up, we just want to do a recap of what we've done, what we've talked about. So we've talked about expectations, how they are like things that we look forward to, and where these expectations come from.
Yeah.
It could be cultural, it could be personal experiences. So when it comes to cultural, it could be social media. Now it could be books, movies that are shaping our views on Rome. And so we have to be aware of that and then filter what we are listening to and watching. And then we have talked about communicating expectations, which is very important.
That's very
to
important,
be vocal about what you expect and creating a safe space where each other can, freely share and express what they expect from each other or from the relationship. And then we've talked about how to deal with unmet expectation, to compromise and to be understanding of each other, where each other is. And so I want us to end with some healthy some tips on how to set healthy boundaries. And I think that being aware of yourself, self-awareness is very important because you need to know the things that you like, the things that are to you, the things that are goals for you, aspirations and all that, because all these things, your personal experiences, your personal values, all these things come together to form what you expect from your relationship and from your marriage. So to be aware, to be self-aware, and also to do regular check-ins with your partner, with your spouse, with each other. Not that I've said it one time or I've expressed it this once, he or she should get it. No, we're doing this together. So from time to time, if you do regular check-ins, how you're doing with your relationship, how you're doing with your marriage, you know where to pay more attention to and applaud each other on the things that you're doing well.
Which is very important as well, because then you get that chance to affirm the good things that your partner or your spouse is doing. And that helps them know that they're doing something right.
You see
it shouldn't always be about talking about the things that are not going well. Sometimes by talking a lot about the things that go well, those other stuff gets resolved as well. So that's a
and also I will mention counseling, like counseling and coaching, like to do that before and after marriage, especially after marriage, right? To keep it going,
going during the marriage,
after the wedding, during the marriage, to keep it going, to keep the counseling going.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
yes,
I guess it's been a wonderful episode. We've talked through quite a lot.
Yes.
And I believe that if you're watching us or listening to us, you have some things to share as well. By all means, feel free to share on any of the platforms available to you.
Yes.
As far as this podcast is concerned.
Yeah.
And by all means, do well to, depending on where you are listening to this, if it's on YouTube, subscribe, like, share, let others hear this information as well, so that it can be of benefit to them.
Yes.
If it's on any of the podcast platforms, do well to follow, leave a review. Let's know how we're doing.
Yes, let's know how you're doing.
It's been an amazing time with you on this episode.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll certainly see you on the next episode.
See you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Life on Stereo. We hope you found our conversation insightful and inspiring.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share, or leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms.
See you in the next episode.